Hi, I'm Ellis George, play Courtney Woods, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast.
Hi, I'm Janet Fielding. I played Tegan in Doctor Who. The Five-ish Fangirls. Have a good time.
The tangents and squeak continue all the way to episode number 32 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Ship, noun, short for romantic relationship, popularized in fan fiction circles. Verb, to endorse a romantic relationship. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every week by going around the virtual table and see who has joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Fort Pierce. This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City. This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone. We are five-ish this week, but it is not a surprise. We knew that going into this week. Mitch is still in Los Angeles, finishing up her crazy adventures at Gallifrey 1.
Yeah.
And she shall return next week with her Galley recap. If you've been following on Twitter, she's been tweeting mostly from our Twitter, the Five-ish Fangirls Twitter instead of her own. But you can see some of her tweets, and then Sean from Traveling the Vortex had been tweeting some as well. And then there are a couple of recaps that they posted on the Traveling the Vortex iTunes feed and on their website. Just short little like 20-30 minutes teasers in a way of the first couple, at least the first couple of days of Gala. I don't know if they'll do a third one because they'll be traveling and all that in the next 24 hours.
One tonight,
yeah, they may record one tonight, so by the time this goes up, there may be a third, but there's at least two. Just recapping the at least the first couple of days, and they're real short. They don't go into a lot of detail because Sean and Mel are going to do their full galley recap next week on Traveling the Vortex, and of course we'll have Mitch on. Will return next week, and we'll have her full galley recap, so we can get all the yummy details outside of
that
what
they
we
teased us with.
Yes, that they teased us with, and so some of the shenanigans we've been seeing on Twitter. I've heard way more about John Barrowman's genitalia over Twitter this past weekend.
Yeah, and some of us were very noisily checking Twitter during church.
Yes.
And you found out about it, and it's just like, this is why I shouldn't be checking Twitter while I'm trying to worship God.
No. Barrowman's in the house, depravity ensues. That's what we know for sure. For coming at a galley, but we'll hear way more from Mitch next week. But if you can't wait, check out those side trips from Traveling the Vortex and the respective Twitter feeds for now. So
Instagram, Facebook,
Instagram,
yeah.
You take it, use the hashtag galley1, and you will find it. So. But that's where we're at the moment as far as why we're a gal down this week. But that won't stop us from talking about some interesting stuff this week. So in honor of
our news list is light, but no less interesting.
Exactly. So we will.
It's quantity over quality this week. No, wait, quality over
quality over quantity. Strike that. Reverse it.
So, librarian getting the words mixed up. That's not good. Okay, I'm a librarian and a writer. I have no excuse. Exactly.
So with that, we'll jump into what news we do have.
Right. First bit of news is that Spider-Man is coming to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Sony and Marvel Studios have officially closed a deal that would bring Spider-Man into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. According to the deal, Spider-Man will appear in a Marvel Studios produced MCU film first. Then Sony will release the next installment in its multi-billion-dollar Spider-Man franchise on July 28, 2017. The film will be co-produced by Amy Pascal, who shepherded the franchise when it first came to Sony, and
Feige. Yeah.
Who has transformed Marvel Studios into the powerhouse film studio it is today. Together, all Mighty's producers. That kind of sounds like it'd be a cool movie as well.
And that might be a documentary.
YouTube series or something.
Yeah. That'll be a docudrama in 20 years when they talk about how Marvel got its start. They'll call it Earth's Mightiest Producers. I like it.
Me too.
Sold.
Right? Copyright that.
Yes.
See, in a circle, Davish Fangirls. Anyway, continue, Brittany. Sorry.
No problem. We'll help chart a new course for Peter Parker in his Alien film series. As part of the deal, Sony Pictures will still finance, distribute, own, and retain final creative control over the Spider-Man films. Details are still emerging, but most reports seem to point towards Spider-Man making an appearance in Captain America: Civil War, and that Andrew Garfield is out, and the role of Peter Parker will be recast.
And actually, that bit about Sony will release the next installment in the Spider-Man franchise is supposedly actually not going to happen. It depends on whose story you read and whether you believe them or not. But it actually looks like the third Spider-Man film has been axed. But they will keep Spider-Man, and he will appear in the Sinister Six film. So...
Okay.
But again, that depends on whose story you read. That's what, so we know for sure that Spider-Man is coming to the MCU. When and where and for how much and what Sony will still use him for is still, it's murky.
Yeah.
So
I guess... Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but
it's interesting that Amy Pascal is going to be producing this because... In the course of my day job this week, I read a lot of news articles, and there was one news article that because when they had that big Sony hack, a lot of emails got found out, and apparently she had written some not so flattering emails about. Now I can't remember who it was.
Other people.
Other people, and so she actually had to resign her post as a producer or whatever she was at Sony. So it was kind of like ew.
Yeah.
Which I almost wrote about, but I was like, I'm not going to write about this one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So that again, but like I said, so most of what we just said, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, depends on whose story you hear, but the point is, the most important thing is Spider-Man is coming home to Marvel, and it's going to be awesome.
Yes.
So.
Yep. Now we just
having read the Civil War comics,
it makes sense.
It
makes a lot of sense, and to have him at the very least make some sort of small appearance in Captain America makes sense because Spider-Man does play such a huge role in the Civil War storyline in the comics. So he needs to be brought in sooner rather than later.
Yes, maybe I shouldn't spread rumors, but never mind. I was strike what I was going to say. I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm intrigued. So you should tell us after.
I'll tell you off mic. Remind me.
Yeah.
I will do so.
We try not to spread rumors around here. So.
Yeah.
Which is why some stuff that grows legs on Facebook and gets spread a lot, we don't mention just because they are rumors. So.
Yeah.
Like a certain
missing episodes.
Yeah, missing episodes, a certain possible Indiana Jones reboot. We're not going to talk about those until they've been confirmed. But you can go Facebook and find that info there and believe it or not. It's up to you.
Yeah, so speaking of some awesome and confirmed news.
Yes. This is absolutely confirmed.
Yes. Confirmed by numerous sources. TNT renews the librarians for season 2.
Yay!
There was a lot of rejoicing coming out of everywhere on Thursday when this happened.
Yeah.
TNT has renewed its hit fantasy adventure, The Librarians, one of the hottest new shows on cable. The Librarians burst into the scene with a chart-topping launch in December and went on to finish the year as Basic Cable's #2 new series of 2014, second only to TNT's The Last Ship. The show's success extends across TNT's multiple platforms, with each week's episodes reaching an average of 11.4 million viewers. That's million with an M, folks. Through linear telecast, DVR playback, and video on demand, digital and mobile viewing. TNT has ordered 10 episodes for the second season, which is slated to launch later this year. A little blue
I
on
am
the
so
tablet,
glad.
but yay!
Yay!
I am so glad to see that stat. I know, like, I don't know if you guys listen to Radio Free Scaro, and with they talk about stats, and then they have this Warren joke. Poor Warren and his aversion to stats. But I love seeing this, that they include telecast, DVR, video on demand, and digital, because when I started watching it, I found it through less than scrupulous means, just because that was the only way I could find it.
Yeah.
But then after a few weeks of watching and enjoying, I'm like, I gotta put my money down and get this, because A, I want to be able to, whenever I want, to download it to my phone. B, I want to support the show, and and that gets counted, and so it's like, yay! So TNT has finally figured out that it's not just the day you watch it is that's all you count, is like people are watching it, they're DVRing it, watching it later, or repeat watching it. As I did several times over Christmas vacation, because I was like...
Well, and I think what helped, too, was those mini marathons that they were doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, and it's so funny because it aired in kind of the off-season hiatus when everything else was going on. And, like, everyone on Tumblr from the Once Upon a Time fandom, well, not everyone, but a good portion of people were watching Gallivant, which I watched the first 2 episodes and I didn't quite like it. But then I started watching Librarians. Yeah, and then I'm like, this is filling my Sunday whimsy need. This is what I need for my Sunday nights, and this is just perfect. And it just.
And a lot of the commenters I saw on other boards, they were just like, "Hey, this is a show I can sit down and watch with my kids. I don't have to worry too much. Perfect."
Mm-hmm.
And it's
so
a show
to heck with TNT going edgy, let's keep at least one show that everybody in the family can watch.
And it's not like super cheesy, like when because sometimes you watch kids shows and you're just like, oh, what am I watching this for?
Yeah.
But like you said, it's something the whole family enjoys, and it's enjoyable. It's entertaining. The characters are just fun. The writing is smart, but it's not over your head. It's not. It's a sweet little show, and we've gushed about it before on this podcast.
Multiple times.
Multiple times.
The only request I have, TNT, is keep the actual airing correct. And don't make it go by so fast. Like, actually do one episode a week, not a few times.
Don't burn through them like tissue paper. But yes, so keep the airing order correct, please.
Can we just keep them safe for any upcoming sporting events, please?
Yeah.
Yes. And if they want to keep it, although I guess they would have had to start filming by now, because I was thinking maybe it would be aired during the summer break kind of thing, but they probably would have had to have started filming by now to make that, maybe? I don't know. I don't understand TV production other than what I kind of glean from other things.
Yeah.
Well, I know sometimes they're still recording, still filming when the show is on, because I know
Doctor Who does that.
I know Person of Interest, they were filming the season finale, like when the show just came on or something like that. At least I think that's what I called, so I could be wrong.
Yeah,
it just depends.
Other shows do that.
So.
It just kind of depends on what their schedule is.
I know Glee is doing that right now. Like there are so many episodes into the season, and like this week is their last week of filming the series. So, because I've been seeing tweets and Instagram posts of like the cast, and they're like, it's our last week, and like so and so's already filmed their last scene. I'm like, oh, you're going away. So, it was like that when Parks and Rec, like they all tweeted after the last day of filming Parks and Rec, and I was like, oh, it's over. And they're burning through their episodes too. They're doing like 2 a week. I'm like, it's gonna be over.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But I guess we'll find out sooner or later, and whenever they start production on it, or I mean, they may have even started pre-production, and they might have already been in the writers' room for weeks, getting stuff together.
Curious
So who knows?
of how it's gonna look because of how the season 1 ended.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll find a way.
I know, but I'm just curious of how. That's all. I know they're gonna do it, and they're gonna do it fantastically. I'm just curious. I'm impatient.
Yeah, I just want to get a look on that writer's room wall and see all the postcards for stories, no cards for story ideas Rogers and Company has.
Maybe it'll be on the DVD.
There we go.
And you know, it just kind of because I've been watching Leverage. I know Brittany has too, and just kind of, and this is the same production crew, production team that did that, and Leverage, it kind of did the same thing where in the first season they're like, okay, it's one self-contained story just in case we don't get a season 2. We told the story, we're not leaving you hanging, and that's what they did with Librarians, because like in Leverage, like I could have seen that being the one season and you're done, because they blew up the office, they they all went their separate ways, sort of thing. There was a little bit of cliffhanger, but everything was pretty much settled. But then they come back the next season and they get the team kind of back together. They find a new base of operations, and then it's business as usual, the same thing you've done throughout the whole season. So I'm like, okay, yeah, now with Librarians, like, okay, we're all kind of in our separate little places. What I kind of predict happening is we've got Flynn and Eve on one, like doing one thing, and I hesitate to call them librarians in training because they're not in training anymore, but I don't know what else to call them. The newbies, sure. They're all heading to Peru on their own, but I predict that they'll find a way to get Flynn and Eve into Peru on another little mission, and they just sort of cross paths. And they
I can see that happening.
Thing. I mean, they're all
what
on
are
the
you
same
doing
team.
here?
Yeah, they're all the same team. They all have their own. I mean, because they've got the library back, and they've still got the annex, so they can still come back. So it's not like they've all scattered to the four winds. But they'll make it work.
Yeah. But I think we kind of spoiled Rachel.
That's okay.
Oops.
No
Sorry.
problem.
But
I'll
we
probably
talked
forget
about it
anyway.
in our podcast. We talked about it during our podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about it.
Oh, yeah, that's right, we did.
Yeah.
It's
It's all good.
We talked about this, so I don't feel bad talking about it.
It's okay.
Anyway, so more librarians, that is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to another piece of news, which is very timely. Adrian Palicki, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, close enough, who plays Bobby Morse, otherwise known as Mockingbird, has been moved up to a series regular on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, yay! And then they've also, ABC has also released the synopsis for the first episode for season 2B. The episode is going to be titled Epidemic. And we already covered a lot of lists in our 2A recap, but the synopsis reads: after discovering an alien city with ties to his resurrection, Coulson and his team destroyed it before the forces of Hydra could claim its secrets, eliminating the villainous Whitehall in the process. But new threats to the world have arisen, including Sky's father, Cal, who now seeks retribution against Coulson for stealing his revenge against Whitehall, a disturbing alliance between former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Ward and Agent 33, the enigmatic Reyna, who struggles with her transformation into something inhuman by the alien obelisk and seeks vengeance, and Sky, who developed mysterious new powers from the obelisk, but whose lack of experience with her new abilities may threaten the safety of those she loves. Meanwhile, Bobby, and Mac begin the next phase of a plan which seems to have grave repercussions for Coulson and his team, who are unaware that there's another mysterious force moving against them. And as Hunter is forced to make the biggest choice of his life, Coulson will find his mission threatened by this shocking endgame. Coulson's team must deal with the consequences of their war with Hydra, as shocking revelations threaten to tear them apart, and Hydra makes a dangerous move that may involve a traitor in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s midst.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Another traitor?
Ugh.
I was gonna say, I'm sure not over. Lord.
It's never over. It's a spy thriller.
It is.
There's traitors everywhere.
It
I'm
is.
scared
But yay.
to find out who.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yay, Bobby Morse is
Indeed.
awesome.
Yeah.
And she's in the show as a regular. So that was good. That was good news.
Yes. But I'm just, after reading that, I'm all like, is it March 3rd yet? We talked about this pre-show. I'm like we're all just loving Agent Carter, and we're gonna be real sad to see Peggy go. But at the same time, I'm like, bring back Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because they keep putting up ads for it and promos, and I'm like, ah! So, I need Coulson back on my TV.
Peggy for a time, and hopefully she'll get renewed. We haven't heard yet. But we're getting Coulson and company back, so that's always a good thing.
Oh yes, that's always a good thing. So
coming back to
I mean the premise for the episode is intriguing, and I'm not that familiar with the comics, but at the same time it's like I know like what's coming as far as in the cinematic universe, so I'm like, okay, we've got Age of Ultron coming up here in a couple of months. I'm like, is this going to tie in? How much? So this could be very interesting. So
that's good.
I'm excited. I think it's the fact that we're doing Marvel with friends, and we're getting to the point where like Coulson, is in it and becoming a regular occurrence. So I was like, oh, Coulson, and it's like Coulson. So I just want to take Clark Gregg and just carry him around in my pocket. I just love him so much.
I watch USA a lot in the daytime, and they do this thing. It's like this one post, I can't remember her name, but she does like these little chats with people. And last week, Clark Gregg was, I'm like, oh my god, it's Coulson!
Yeah.
Oh, and it was like a minute thing, but I was still like freaking out.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for our news.
That's it for news. I do have I will keep this relatively short. For Valentine's Day, yesterday, I have a bit of a movie review. For Valentine's Day, a friend of mine and I went to go see Jupiter Ascending because she's got a stinking huge crush on Channing Tatum, and I was just mildly curious about this movie. And it had been getting very poor reviews, so I kind of didn't have a lot of very high hopes for this going in. But I still wanted to see it anyway because I would personally, I'm loving comic book movies. I'm loving movies made from books, but I would like to see more movies, especially sci-fi movies, that are original material, like that wasn't from something that came before. So I'm like, you know what, I want to give this a try, and I'm gonna, call my own shots and see if I like it. And I know the Wachowskis, I don't know. I know they're like a big deal. They did the Matrix movies. I never saw the Matrix movies. Don't really care. But this looked interesting, to say the least. So I'm like, I'm gonna go try it. And I don't mind that I saw it. I don't think it's going to be a big deal, which is too bad. I think this is what I felt like as I was watching. I was thinking about this as I was watching the movie. Is like when when you go to see movies like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings or The Hunger Games or Divergent and whatever, and you watch the movie and you're like, okay, there's something missing here, but I know it's in the book, and you can't take the book away from me. Or you know that they took something out of the story that was in the book, you miss it, but they did it for the movie. That's okay. This movie, it has the biggest problem I see with it is that it feels like there's something missing from the story that it should be from. It feels like it's a movie made from a book, but there's no book to go back and be like, okay, what did you miss here? And that is kind of where I think it fell down the most. I felt like there was a lot of really good ideas, but they were just little pieces strung together by not a whole lot holding on to it. Now, it's a fun movie. I enjoyed myself when I was watching it, although there was one point I was kind of like, how much longer do I have to sit in here? How long have I been in here? And my watch died, so I couldn't look at my watch. I didn't want to pull my phone out of my purse because I don't like to be that person with the phone in the movie theater. So I was just sort of like, okay, has this been 2 hours yet? Basically, and there were some genuinely good moments in the movie. There was one, because in the story, and it felt like it was put together kind of in this weird way. Like they did a lot of talking and a lot of explaining backstory where I think they could have utilized flashbacks maybe more, because I wanted to see more of the world and of these characters. And there's a lot of characters where they talk about, he lost his position in this military group because of something that happened. I'm like, I would like to have seen that, or even just see it in flashback. Maybe you can do a bit of voiceover narration or something. They didn't do that, so it was like very talky and very not showing me what's going on. But there is one line that I just was laughing my butt off at this one, because at one point what the story is this girl named Jupiter, and she's named that because her dad was like an astronomer, and her mom was a professor of something or other. I can't remember what it was, and her dad got killed. When her mom was pregnant with her, so they moved to America, and they become and she and her mom live with her mom's sister's family, and they're like, they're a maid service. They work for a maid service, and she lives with her uncles and cousins and everything. And her one cousin is like, they're trying to get some extra money, so her one cousin convinces her to sell her eggs at a fertility clinic, which is like the most random thing in the story. I'm just kind of like, of all things that you could have gone into to get more money, a fertility clinic, and it kind of serves no purpose in the story, but whatever. That's where she gets kidnapped by the alien menace that's coming to get her. And they don't explain it very well until way later, but that's not the point. So anyway, later in the movie, when her uncle finds out what her cousin has done, that he has convinced her to sell her eggs, he grabs the newspaper and starts beating the cousin, like just smacking him with it, and he goes, "You don't treat your cousin like a chicken." And he keeps doing that over and over again. And it's the most random thing in a movie about, space, politics, and commerce and whatever is going on. You've got this, this Russian immigrant father beating the crap out of his son, yelling about treating your cousin like a chicken.
Oh my goodness.
And each word, don't, bam, treat, bam.
Yeah, it was pretty much like that. It was quite funny. But so there was that. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, the way they explained why she was important was kind of interesting. It has to do with like genetics, like for like in some random karma way, I guess. She is the genetic reincarnation of this queen who was over this planet, and she had 3 kids, and they're all the heirs, and they're like splitting up the estate, and now that Jupiter has been born, and she is genetically their mother, but she's also younger than them. So one of the boys, he tries to marry her, which is like creepy to the nth degree. But the wedding like has zero purpose in the story. It just serves to act as a pretty promo picture. It's that scene where you've probably seen it, where she's in the white and red dress with the funky crystal headdress.
Yeah.
And she's like on this platform over all these people, and you think, oh, this is where she's going to be queen. No, that just floats her down, and she's getting married to the guy. And I'm like, and the scene is over, and it just doesn't make any sense. There's no point to it. So it's just to look pretty for the trailer, basically. Eddie Redmayne is in it. Academy Award nominated Eddie Redmayne, and his performance is the most unintentionally hysterical thing, even funnier than the line about the chicken. Like like they zoom in on his face a lot. He's one of the villains. They zoom in on his face a lot, and his face just looks so weird in this movie. I don't know what it is. And the way he talks is like really soft and like this, and he's trying to be all sultry and seductive and whatever, and then he'll start shouting for no good reason. So he doesn't have kind of a little, I don't know what to think of him, but I'm just kind of like, dude, you got some bad direction, I guess, because I'm like, you're a good actor. You clearly are good at what you do, just not in this movie. So it was a little uncomfortable to watch, just because it was like, what the heck are you doing?
It sounds like.
So yeah. So overall, I mean, if you go see it, you'll be entertained. I mean, Channing Tatum is fun to watch, and he's really good. And his character has like these space surfer boots that do something with gravity that he can kind of, and so it makes sense that he does like all these physics defying stunts and in the fight scenes and stuff. So, it reminds you of something out of Transformers that doesn't, like, you watch it doesn't make any sense, but because they've added in these special boots that he wears, it makes sense that he can do all those things in, like, aerial dogfights with spaceships and stuff, kind of. Sean Bean's in it. The whole time I'm sitting there, like, waiting for his character to die, and he never does. Whoa. And that was
Mark your calendars, folks! February 2015. Sean Bean does not die in a movie.
He does not die in this movie, which kind of shocked me. I figured he would. Like there were several times I'm like, okay, he's dead. He's somewhere. Then he shows up, and I'm just kind of like, okay, so you're going to die later. No, he doesn't. So I'm sorry if that spoiled anything for you. But don't take that bet of when Sean Bean's gonna die in Jupiter Ascending, because he never does.
I remember seeing the commercials, and I saw Sean Bean. I was like, "You're dead."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like a red shirt in Star Trek.
Yeah. Now I actually really enjoyed his character, and that's another one I wish I could have gotten to know. And honestly, the biggest problem with this movie is that there is a lot of world building. I can tell there's a lot of world building that went into this, like behind the scenes, but we did not see that on screen. And I really think that this would have been better served as a television show, where you can spend more time with the characters, spend more time with the backstory and what's going on. Because I would have liked to have seen more of this. Because the culture and the civilization that they describe is really fascinating, but they don't spend enough time on it for me to get that connection and to be as interested in it. I mean, and the character of Jupiter, she sometimes she's interesting, sometimes she's kind of boring, just because they don't give her enough to do, or they don't give her enough time to kind of breathe and develop a character. The romance feels a little bit rushed, but I still believe it, if that makes sense. I just can't figure out where it was precisely that they fell in love, other than it just sort of felt like it's a foregone conclusion. It's the two, attractive leads in the show and in the movie, and there's like one little blip at the beginning that Jupiter's aunt says, "Oh, someday you will find your true love," and then that just gets dropped. And so that's not important at all until, I don't know, later. But I didn't really like the ending, because nothing really changes for Jupiter. She still kind of has her same life. but she like appreciates it more, which is kind of odd because she is supposed to be this reincarnation of this all-powerful queen that owns the earth, and she goes back to scrubbing toilets. And I'm just kind of like, that was lame. Like, that was a dumb, stupid way to... But she also has a hot alien boyfriend, who's part wolf, part human, part crow, apparently.
Alrighty then.
Anyway. So, there's a lot of good ideas, just not put together very well. I kind of wish I hadn't gone to like a full price movie. I wish I'd have waited and gone like to a matinee or even the dollar theater. But anyway, if you go see it, you'll be entertained. Just don't pay full price. That's all.
Alrighty then.
So that's Jupiter Ascending.
So it sounds like it's more of a movie to see for the pretty effects and that cool sci-fi-ness of it, not really for the story.
Yeah, it's really more of a spectacle. And like partway through it, I was like, well, I will say this: it's not as bad as Transformers. I was expecting it to be like, because I went and saw one of the Transformers movies, and I walked out of there feeling a lot dumber for having seen that movie. So I was expecting, okay, this can't be as bad as Transformers, can it? And it wasn't. So my expectations were like in the dirt for this one. I just because of reviews, and it really isn't that bad.
Yeah. Well,
so
the Wachowskis.
But it's not that good either.
Yeah. The Wachowskis do have a slightly better reputation than Michael Bay. So
this is true. This is true. So. And like I said, I'm not as familiar with the Wachowskis' work. I just kind of know of them.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of sci-fi fans are like, oh my gosh, they did The Matrix. I never saw The Matrix, so I can't speak to that. If I think it was good or not, because I never saw it. But yeah, they have some really good ideas. I really liked a lot of their story ideas. I wish they'd have had more time to flesh them out, or I wish they would have cut some to make room for some of the bigger ideas, because there were just so much crammed in here, and you didn't have time to really process it, or to let it go, or let it ride through the story. So it could have been a lot better. I think if it was, it's a good concept for a TV show, definitely.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think that would happen either. But it's a fun little flick. So,
yeah.
If you're curious, what's that?
I said, I bet it's safe to say that it's better than the other movie that was out yesterday.
Yeah.
We don't
Of your movie options.
Yes. Yes.
We're
not giving any airtime to that one.
Yeah.
But yes, you have a point. Yes, it's a movie that
shall not be named.
Yeah.
If those are your only options, American Sniper's still in theaters, and I hear that's good.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you want a mindless action sci-fi flick, wait till the
That's
dollar
pretty,
theater
apparently.
to see it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's as bad as everyone's making it out to be, but it's not great. It's not good. They're not going to make a big franchise out of this.
It's gonna go the way of it's probably gonna go the way of John Carter then.
Yeah, except John Carter was actually awesome.
Well, yes.
And that one actually did need to go on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh,
Anyway,
well,
ascending.
thanks for that. So,
I will say this, because I was driving home last night afterward, and I tend to talk to myself after I leave movies.
you gotta process it.
Yeah, like I was processing it from, and like the movie theater I went to is about like a half an hour away from my house,
Mm-hmm.
and I was still talking about it even as I was to myself as I was going to bed, as I got ready for bed, and my whole routine there, and it was a good hour at least after I'd seen the movie, and I was still processing it. So, and it was mostly just like story structure and like what they could have done differently to fix it. Because there's definitely a way to salvage it. I don't know if they just ran out of time, or I heard there was like production troubles with this whole thing. So that's probably what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could have been just. I'm kind of frustrated because I'm like, I see the good idea. I see where you were trying to go with it. It just didn't get there.
Yeah.
Maybe there'd be a director's cut.
Yeah, that'd be all right. Because I did read later that it was, or I read today that they had to cut a lot of stuff out of it to make it fit the runtime.
Mm.
So I'm like, well, okay. But anyway, we've probably dwelled long enough on a movie that is like nobody likes.
Yeah.
Too bad. It's not my favorite, but it's not terrible.
Yeah. Alrighty then. Well, a quick reminder. I know I mentioned it when I was talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but we are still doing Marvel with Friends. So the next one is this coming Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will be watching Captain. So that's quite exciting. Quite serendipitous, one, because, you know, Agent Carter's getting ready to wrap up, and two, because, although not quite as timely, because I still have a month in Captain America, and I'm going to see her next month, so...
Jenna has a very blink and you'll miss it role, but she is in it.
She is in it.
Yeah.
So.
But she was always like when people like when they first announced that she was gonna be Doctor Who, said Jenna Coleman of Captain America.
For Captain America.
And she's like in like that like less than a minute type thing.
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah.
At
first I thought that they
I don't think she was
used her
tall.
for Haley Atwell. And I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute.
I can't. What was it? Well, I don't know if it was. What was I doing? Oh, I tweeted. No, I was like somebody. I tweeted a picture, or Instagram when they said that Jenna was coming to this Comic-Con. And I think I'd Instagrammed, and I'd used a snapshot of the thing up on the con's website, and it said, you know, Jenna Coleman, Doctor Who, Captain America, First Avenger, and one of my friends was like, she was in Captain America? I'm like, yes, she was. Again, blink and you miss her, but she was in it.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with any if she's done any other roles, like, you know, for BBC or whatever, but I'm like, I wonder if that's just like her first big on-screen credit, and they're like, oh, this is a Marvel movie, she's been in it, we should note this for all it's worth. But now she's been in Doctor Who, so she has an even bigger
street cred.
There, so like, you can kind of forget about crediting her with Captain America, although maybe they don't want to.
Yeah.
Whoever her agent is.
Yeah. A credit is a credit.
It's true.
That's true.
She probably got paid for it, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, Marvel with Friends. Join us, Captain America, First Avenger. So use the hashtag of your choice, depending on, you know, how long your message is. So
yeah, Marvel with Friends, you'll find it.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. So there's that, and we don't have any feedback this week. Hopefully, with any luck, we have new listeners who maybe got business cards or ribbons from Mitch at Gallifrey One. So if you're a new listener, courtesy of Gallifrey One, hello, and yes, it's
Doctor Who
yeah, and it's pretty much like this every week. So, you know, if you're all thinking, man, they're crazy, yeah, we're like this every week. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we will talk Doctor Who eventually. We talk a lot about
other stuff too.
Crazy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we are the 5-ish fangirls. So that's
it's gonna be Doctor Who related next week.
Yes, it will be very Doctor Who related next week.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. And see, kind of our thing is we talk about other things that we're interested in besides Doctor Who, because that's kind of where
that's the glue.
We discovered that, hey, we all like other things too, and Holly's been kind of our dealer, if you will, of getting us into other fandoms and the Librarians and Once Upon a Time. and a bunch of other stuff, and Rachel brings in the Marvel stuff.
Yep.
And, yeah, we're all over the place. So.
Yeah.
But welcome, enjoy your stay, enjoy the insanity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it. But you're probably the same way too, since you're listening to this.
Yes. No. But yeah, if you happen to be a new listener because you found out about us at Galley, drop us a line. So let us introduce yourself, say hello.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll
all our contact info is at the 5ish Fangirls podcast.blogspot.com.
Yep.
There, I got our plug-in.
Yes.
Leave us a comment, tweet us, send us an email.
Yep. So with that, let's jump into this week's topic. Like we mentioned last week, it was Valentine's Day weekend this week that we're recording. So in honor of Valentine's Day, we thought we would touch upon something that's not necessarily one fandom specific, but blankets pretty much every fandom you could think of. You dig deep enough, you can find shipping in pretty much every fandom. And in the opener there, the definition I gave was from Urban Dictionary. It's actually kind of funny that we're talking about this because one of the YouTubers I watch, he was recently at VidCon in Florida, and he heard the term shipping in reference to him and his girlfriend, and he did not know what it meant. And his sister, God love her, thought that she knew what it meant, and she thought it was some sort of metaphor for like ships, like sailing ship, like actual ships, but like each person was a ship and they were coming together. So finally he went and asked some of the fans, and they explained it to him, and he's like, oh, that makes way more sense than what my sister was using as a definition. So, but
if you haven't, you need to go back. I can't remember which ones they were, but there were a couple of Radio Free Scarro episodes where they played interviews that Steven did at Chicago TARDIS, and apparently the theme of Chicago TARDIS last November was asking the guests, like the actors and stuff from Doctor Who, like, who do you ship?
Mm-hmm.
And Steven, bless his heart, had to explain what shipping was, and I think by like the third or fourth time he did it, he was just like, oh, not this again, please don't make me explain. And it was kind of just a running joke throughout the whole convention, apparently.
Yeah.
So like everyone had to explain what shipping was. It embarrassed me even.
So
it was like, it was hilarious.
Yeah. For those that don't know, and maybe if our little Urban Dictionary definition at the beginning, it's really short for relationship. And for the most part, it's romantic relationships, but it can apply to non-romantic, brother-sister, parent-child, like like male-to-male, like friendships, like we call those bromances sometimes, but like a bro ship is a thing.
There's also the acronym OTP, which is one true pairing.
Yes.
Which it can also be changed to BroTP, which is friend.
Yes.
As, so there, it spiraled out into a myriad of things. Not even know where shipping, where the term even started.
It depends on who you ask, and there's a couple articles that we'll put links to in the show notes. One of the articles says that it stems from the X-Files, but there's another thing that I read, which actually I think was in Wikipedia, it wasn't any of these articles, where some people think that it goes all the way back to the original series of Star Trek.
Yep, that's what I've heard too.
With Kirk and Spock, of all things. But
I wonder if anyone maybe did it with Doctor Who too. Like, I could see people in the early 60s shipping Ian and Barbara.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's true.
But maybe it was just because Doctor Who back then was still such a very niche show in the UK, and it didn't have that big of a spread, whereas Star Trek just blew up everywhere.
Yeah. It probably has its origins back in probably Star Trek. Probably didn't really gain a lot of mainstream traction and probably till about the time X-Files, because then the internet was starting to become a thing. It wasn't as nearly as prevalent as it is now, because back when X-Files was on, most people had dial-up. But
and the internet was just text-based.
Yeah, it was real rudimentary, basic internet. For those of us of a certain age, we remember dial-up and waiting. Yes, exactly.
And taking forever to download.
Yep, exactly. But I think for me, and I think maybe as we talk about this, obviously fan fiction plays into this, but I think we won't get too much into fan fiction in general, because that's another episode for another time in general. But I think for me personally, me hearing the term shipping and understanding what it is was when I really started to get into fan fiction. And reading it, and that would have been like in the last 5 or 6 years that I've really started reading fan fiction. But I don't even think when I started reading it that that term, I saw it much until a couple of years ago, I think. So shipping in general does have a lot of ties to fan fiction, but that's where you see a lot of people taking their ships and nurturing them and
yeah, which there's nothing wrong with that if that's what your thing is.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
Because I remember when and still be getting into like how I came to understand the term and know what it was and experience it was when I was in Harry Potter fandom, which Harry Potter, initiated me into a lot of things with fandom, and so there was the whole big thing, like who did you want, the trio to end up with, like, because there was one interview, I think it was after the 6th book came out, and there was an interview that Pottercast did with J.K. Rowling. It was Pottercast, MuggleCast, I believe, if I'm remembering this right. I may be. But anyway, they got to go to the UK and interview J.K. Rowling, and it was like this big thing, because there's like, oh my gosh, these big name fans are going to interview our queen, Jo, yay.
Yeah.
and they'd read the 6th book, so they could ask her questions about it and everything, and she had made a comment about that she dropped some anvil-sized hints that it was supposed to be Ron and Hermione were the ship, and then there was the contingency of Harry Hermione shippers that, oh my gosh, you would have thought that you shot their dog.
Yeah.
And maybe this is getting into a bit of a different topic with shipping, because shipping is actually a lot of fun. But oh my gosh, there was this whole big uproar that, oh my gosh, she has, insulted a grand swath of her fandom, and I can't believe blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh wow, people take their shipping very, very seriously. Never mind that this story is about defeating the darkest of dark wizards, and he is out killing people, and there is, all hell is breaking loose, and the Minister of Magic is everything's going crazy. Dumbledore is dead. Spoilers. Snape kills Dumbledore. Never mind, all this other stuff happened. J.K. Rowling just shot down the Harry Hermione ship.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and the whole time I was sitting there going, well, of course it's Ron and Hermione. What are you talking about? And I really didn't get into it very much. And I always like Harry and Ginny. And there's that ending where he goes to save her. And I was like, oh, that would be so sweet if they were like to end up together and campaigning for it or anything. Yeah. And so it was just sort of a nice little side thing to the story. Because then Harry had a crush on Cho, and Ginny went to the Yule Ball with Neville, and Ron and Hermione were kind of, not admitting that they liked each other.
Yeah.
Teenagers. She wrote in, this is how high school kids act.
You're
when
right.
You're, discovering.
One minute
romance.
you're going to homecoming, the next week you can't stand the sight of each other.
You're you're slashing each other's tires out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So,
Although J.K. Rowling has cleared the air, said that in terms that actually Ron and Hermione together was a mistake.
Yeah, or she said if she could do it over again, she would change it. And then you would have, then the other side, you would have thought you'd shot their dog.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here with my bowl of popcorn going, drama, there is drama on the internet.
Shipping Wars is more than a reality TV show on one of those network channels.
Yeah, it's...
In all honesty, I probably would watch that reality show if there was one.
Can you see or the History Channel or one of those channels that do those sleazy, gross reality shows about really obnoxiously weird people? I could be shippers. And we would all just be sitting here going, I know how that person, I've encountered someone like it. And you're just like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we said, it is a serious business, but it's also... And it's funny because people get so upset about something. It's about love.
Oh.
And all that kind of mushy, happy Valentine's Day stuff.
Yes.
We all just get along.
And certain places in the internet are depending on where you fall, Tumblr can be like the best place for like finding fan fiction and fan art and all this other stuff. But if you're on the other side, it is a Pandora's box of madness. So, and
it's like that GIF of, and I think it's from Community, maybe, where the guy walks in with the box of pizzas. He walks in the door and he's like all happy, and then all of a sudden he looks around and everything's like burning and there's mass chaos and mayhem, and he's just like, "What did I just walk into?"
Yeah,
yeah. I love that.
I did not realize the extent of the veracity of shippers until I started getting on Tumblr, and sometimes I wish I could scrub it from my mind, and another time other ships it is brought me quite a lot of joy, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing with shipping is, and then there's
fanon.
There's canon, there's fanon, there's implied canon,
and there's head canon.
Then there's head canon, and then there's it's never only in fan fiction canon.
We used to call those crack ships.
Yes.
I guess we still do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although,
which some of them just amuse me. So much like, really?
Yeah. And in some ways, canon, which in itself, some people love it and some people don't. Like you said in Harry Potter, it's like there are people that wanted Ron and Hermione together, and it was great. That talking about the possible origins of the X-Files. So there was a lot of this will they or won't they with Scully and Mulder, and then they you never actually saw it happen, but they ended up having a baby, so you kind of know that they did.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But so that made a lot of people very happy and a lot of people very upset.
Yeah.
So, and then you have the potential for a ship, but it never really comes to fruition, like the 10th Doctor and Rose. There's a lot of people that they really read into eye movements and body language in the episodes, with David Tennant and Billy Parver's like, oh, David's, he has his hands this way, and that means that he and Rose were off snogging in a corner, and we
people read a lot into this kind of
yes,
stuff.
People,
and it's about these things, about these ships, like
it is if you keep it on a healthy level.
Yeah. And actually, and here's another example. I'll dive in since we were talking librarians earlier. I'm on Tumblr, and I love from one of their first scenes together. I love Jake and Cassandra. I ship those two. But there are some people who ship Ezekiel and Cassandra,
and I can see it.
And I can see that. I mean, they're really But for me, I kind of feel like they're They're reasons, but I kind of feel like they're more brother-sister relationship. Feel like, and I don't think they're intentionally setting anything up. The writers are. I just kind of feel like, oh, this is me. I'm just kind of like, that would be kind of cute. I really like it, and it, gives me the warm, yay, fangirly, fuzzies, feelings.
Yeah.
But there are some people on Tumblr that ship the other way, and I'm just kind of like, you know what? More power to you. I'm glad. I'm glad you found something that you like, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay because it's just a fun little thing we do. But I've seen, especially in Once Upon a Time fandom.
Oh, yes, please not go there.
Well,
that's one of those you go onto Tumblr and it's like,
It's kind of on the level of the Looney Tunes Bugs Bunny Rabbit season.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Although I don't really follow a lot of Once Upon a Time folks on Tumblr except you guys, so Captain Swan all the way, I know for. But
it's canon, baby.
Yeah, but another one of those that is very Donald Duck, Bugs Bunny, and
very contentious.
Very contentious is John Locke, Sherlock, and John Watson. Is that's a minefield, is what that is, at least on Tumblr.
Yeah. and another thing I kind of wanted to bring up with this, and this kind of goes with Once Upon a Time as well.
Yeah.
Is when you bring the creators in shipping debate, and
too good to do.
No.
Yeah.
And this has happened a lot on Twitter with the Once Upon a Time cast, and people will have said some very not nice things to some of our favorite. Purpose does this serve? And with you bringing up John with Sherlock, John Locke and all that, is a couple years ago, I don't remember exactly when it was. There was a BFI event with Sherlock, and they screened the premiere of the Sherlock season, and then afterward they had a Q&A with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, and I think Stephen Moffat was there, but don't quote me on that. And the lady who was doing the interview, and I can't remember who she was, but she had found like a very explicit fan fiction online, and she had Benedict I can't remember if she read it or she had Benedict and Martin read it out.
I know I've seen quotes from Benedict that he's aware that exists, and so does David Tennant. David Tennant is aware that the fan fiction exists.
Yeah, actors they know that this stuff exists, and
they take that's cute, and I'm flattered, but if probably have nightmares probably.
Yeah, and that's just kind of enters into it because that's just sort of embarrassing.
Yeah, that's what when you start bringing the actors and the showrunners in little on the dangerous, and you need to scale it back a little. J.K. Rowling has said that she's said it's scary, and she's equated it these shipping wars to cyber gang warfare. It can get pretty ugly with people defending their ship, and it's with ships, whether they're canon or not, there's something there that they enjoy and they like it, and it makes them happy to think about it and read fan fiction, or if it is canon, see it come to see Hook and Emma go out on their date. It made you very happy.
I remember because when was it? It was last September or August, and I was doing my rewatch of Once Upon a Time and tweeting. I had comments about Neil because that was the other ship that could have happened with this was Emma and Neil getting back together, because and then they and Henry could have been this cute little family, and I just didn't like that. But that was my personal preference. So as I'm rewatching it, and I would make comments about the character Neil, not because that's what I felt that the story did. And then in the episode where Neil dies, and it's a very heroic sacrifice that he does, and then the next episode is his funeral. I actually and I kind of did this tongue-in-cheek tweet where I'm just like, here, I'll pour one out for the Swanfire shippers. It's and just kind of having a little bit of fun, at the expense of a moral story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's different than, attacking somebody because they wanted a different ship than I did. And this is my thing about shipping and reading fan fiction, because I really haven't gotten into fan fiction until about maybe just the past year, when I would, especially after the Once Upon a Time season 3 finale, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to see little cute short fanfics about, them moving in, getting married and having a baby, or, taking the baby grows up, they take the kid to school, doing these things that are not going to be in the show at all, because they just don't fit, but it's these little fun behind the scenes things, and those are fun to see in fan fiction and that kind of thing. And so, I feel like we're being a little negative about shipping and focusing on the bad stuff that happens, but it's also just we lose that focus because we have to be right. Because I'm actually reading a book right now and it's a fictionalized account it's a novelization about the Russian Revolution and the end of the Imperial Tsar and the start of the Soviet Union and all that stuff. And at the end of the book, the author, she has this line about just, acknowledgments about her historical research and things like that. And she says, this may apply, it's kind of a weird thing to think of, but just this made me think of it. This leads to a single truth, that when you forget that those you disagree with are people and not just your faceless opposition, you don't end up proving who is wrong, you end up with a body count. And, I know this is sort of an extreme way to as silly and fun as shipping, but there's a nugget of truth there. Is we're having fun here, guys. We're not here to, we're not trying to cure cancer or whatever. We're talking about the romance between fictional characters.
Right.
Good. But also, the whole shit. It's going to be fun, listening if you get the right people, because I remember one time, back in the day, I used to write Harry Potter fan fiction, and I used to have a babe, the person who, edits my blog, and she shipped Harry and Hermione, and this had this fun little thing that happened, because this was that long break between book 4 and book 5, and we were having this, and we also had fun going through all copies of the 4 books, showing these little hints of each, and it's actually really fun. If, like you said, if you get the right person, it becomes more banter, silly argument, instead of the whole war thing.
Yeah.
So, there's good sides of having different ships.
Yeah.
If you can, find the right person.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah.
And then you think of things that you might not have thought of before, but then you're still well, I still like my ship better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you just have fun with it, and I love seeing the stuff and with fan fiction and just some of the most amazing, because I a little while ago I entered, there's an artist I follow on Tumblr who's a big Captain Swan shipper, and she does some amazing artwork, and I entered a giveaway she was doing with some of her art, and I think it's ScribbleCat27 on Tumblr. She does. There's one. She does a couple. And my favorite one is Hook and Emma sitting on the deck of the Jolly Roger, and they're looking out at the constellations. And that was one of the things I won, was a refrigerator magnet with that artwork on it, and it's just so beautiful. And another thing she did was a Christmas card with Hook and Emma kissing, and Hook has his sword up, and it's got mistletoe on the top, and they're kissing under the mistletoe, and it's so cute. So I think maybe we'll have to link to her. She has a Redbubble store, so I'm going to point people in that direction, and if you want to see what other artwork she has. And another good one is it's called Winter by the Sea, is another good Captain Swan fan artist who does some amazing work. It's just there's just so much fun, scenes you would see in the show, but it's just what people come up with and what they are inspired to create, because rich and grounded, and they feel so real, even though it's freaking Captain Hook. Definitely they're fictional, but people are inspired by these things, and it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I love watching shipping videos on YouTube. It's like, especially ones that aren't, the shipping isn't actually canon, it's all fandom, but people still find things in the TV show and put them on to make it a ship, which I don't know, fascinating.
Fact.
Woo!
Every time you take Advil liquid gels, you're taking
Sorry.
a pain reliever that works faster
Sorry.
on tough pain than extra strength Tylenol.
This
Not only
episode has
faster,
not been brought to
stronger,
you
too.
by
Relief
Tylenol.
doesn't get any better than this. Advil.
I don't know what that was. Sorry. I've had these articles that I was referencing open the entire time, and now an ad decided.
Oh, jeez.
Maybe that subtle hint out there to Advil and Tylenol. We need sponsors.
You want to send us some cash?
Either that, or if you're shipping, if the shipping wars get to you too much, you might need an Advil or Tylenol. One of the two. So. That was bound to happen at shows before something like that happened. So, anyways.
At least it was for a Tylenol and not something other pills.
Yeah, that's true. That's a whole other can of worms we're not going to get into. So,
anyways,
yeah.
so Brittany, you were talking about what were you talking about? Just totally.
Fan videos.
YouTube videos.
Yeah.
YouTube videos.
Fan videos.
Just, I don't know, like,
Yeah. So sometimes I've seen some where they'll take stuff out of a TV show. If it's two characters that are in a TV show, sometimes I've seen it where, if they're non-canon or not in the same universe, like alternative universe.
Oh yeah, AUs.
So that again when we do our fan fiction episode, where they'll take if they're actors and there's enough source material out there, they'll take clips from other things that those actors have been in, so that they get the scenes that they want to tell the story that they want. So if it's like Rose and 10, but there's not really, they'll take other movies and TV shows that David Tennant and Billie Piper have been in and edit them together, or if it's...
Tumblr does that too of the photo sets.
Yes. Yeah. So people can be, it's not just fan fiction. People can get very creative to I guess wave their banner of their ship, raise the flag of their ship.
Oh, the gift sets that came out after the Words music video of Book and Emma. Oh my gosh, there were some not just alternate universe stuff, but stuff that was all like, here's Hook bringing in flowers to brighten up Emma's new place, and Henry is watering the flowers, and it was just so cute. And it was, and like they come up with whole stories around these gift sets that have nothing to do with each other.
Oh yeah.
But they tell this whole big long fan fiction-y story, and it's just so wonderful.
Yeah, I'm amazed at the talent that some people have. With,
oh yeah, no kidding.
Various computer programs. I'm like, Matt, I don't know if I go with that ship, but mad props to you for for taking the time to put that together. So. Yeah.
And they
Thumbs
love,
up.
and people love doing it, and like it's so fun to see.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll reblog things, and I'm like, why are people so stupidly talented? I love it.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Oh, and that's one of those things that it is a positive. If somebody ships something and like, oh, I want to make fan art, or I want to make a video, or I want to make a gift set, and and if it's not somebody that may or may not have a lot of experience on the computer, they may be developing technical skills that they could use in real life. Like you learn how to edit video together to make a fan video. Next thing you know, you're doing that for real life, So.
Yeah. I mean, because like at one point I it was like one summer, it was the same summer I discovered Doctor Who, and I was just bored out of my mind. And my parents had a new computer, and so I was like just experimenting with things. I started making just like fan videos of Doctor Who, not necessarily shipping or anything. And I actually ended up using some of those video making skills for my grad school program.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, I haven't had much opportunity to make videos since then. But it's like, hey, I made that.
Yeah.
And you get excited about it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Excuse me.
You know, and kind of going back to shipping, it's interesting to me that you know romance can take center stage in a story that on the surface has very little to do with it. And one in particular I'm thinking of is Arrow, where like when you watch you watch the first season of Arrow, and it's about Oliver Queen coming back after being away for 5 years, and he's like this totally different person. He's trying to fit himself back in with his family and friends and people he knows, and he's kind of been this this playboy billionaire kind of running around on everybody, and now he's changing his life, and now he's a vigilante, and you kind of see him try to get back into good graces with some of his old girlfriends, and it doesn't really work. And you could kind of see where that story was going, but then they brought in Felicity Smoke, who was originally not meant to be anything more than just a one-off character.
Mm-hmm.
But and she was like this bright spot of sunshine. It was just so dark and depressing, and why? And like everybody was just so morbid and morose. So it worked, and so people started shipping her with Oliver, even though the story at the time was kind of like, oh, this really isn't a big deal. But then, she gets brought into Team Arrow and all that kind of stuff. And that just kind of grew organically through the storytelling. And I don't even know, I mean, from what I've been able to tell, the writers really didn't have any kind of romance involved with this, for this show. But then it's just Oliver and Felicity just worked really well together. And so now, this season, I mean, there are other things going on, so it's not like their romance is front and center, but every episode, or sort of every episode, it gets addressed in some way. And it's, if it's a line that Felicity says, because Oliver was presumed dead for a couple of episodes, and Felicity would say something while he was gone, and then when he came back, they kind of had a little conversation, and now there's another conflict kind of in the mix with this whole thing. And so it's just interesting that it becomes, and there's a website that I follow, it's called heroesandheartbreakers.com, and they're mostly about like romance novels and things, but they also have a feature, and it's called Heart to Heart, and there's several different TV shows that they follow with this, and one of them is Arrow, another one's Sleepy Hollow, and there are a couple others that I don't watch that I don't worry about. But in every episode, they look at, they do a recap of the episode as a whole, and just kind of what happened, and then they talk about, okay, what's the shipping potential, great or small, and then they have a little kind of a side box of what happened in this episode, like how was there shirtlessness, or or other things, are like, and they call it charting the course, and they say this is, so it's this little infographic at the site, and it's kind of cute what they do with it, and then then each of their experts explain like how they feel where they go, where the ship is going, and kind of its way. And it's kind of fun just to see, because it's like, because I'll watch an episode of Arrow, and it's like, oh, they're going after these gangs that have pushed the police presence out of the glades, and and Laurel is going through this crisis of conscience, and Roy's trying to keep it all together, and Thea has no idea what's going on. Well, what's going on? And are they going to end up together? What's going on with that? Even though all these other things are going on around, and it's just so, it's fun. It's just it's charming. It's enjoyable, and it makes a very angsty, high drama situation kind of have that little bit of lightness to it, as much as it possibly can, without ruining the story. So it's kind of fun. And like I said, they also do it for Sleepy Hollow. They follow both the Ichabod and Abby ship and the Ichabod and Katrina ship, and just kind of depends on which one takes center stage in which episode. So again, that website's called Heroes and Heartbreakers. Like I said, it's more a publishing house blog, and they talk a lot about romance novels and things like that, but they'll talk TV shows and different things as well. So if that's up your alley, we'll put a link to that as well. I just remembered that. Anyway. I think that'll work.
Yep.
It's just one of those blogs I found in my course of being a librarian. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And I think it's actually a sister site to Tor.com. If people are familiar with that one, that one's a sci-fi fantasy genre focused blog. And then I think they have one for mystery thrillers, but I'm not familiar with it as much.
I like putting sort of detective science-y work into ships, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's like did they look at each other for how long did they look at each other?
Yeah.
What was said, parsing out the relationship sort of thing, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. Well.
And there's nothing wrong with having fun in fandom or
Exactly.
shipping.
Indeed.
Exactly. It can be. Again, I mean, it could be fun because, it, you'd have to be some sort of, like, heartless, you'd have to be like a Cyberman or something to not enjoy at least a little romance or at least a friendship. We've talked a lot about, romance specific ships, but it doesn't have to be, romance, kissy, it can be friendships, it can be familial relationships, it can be BFFs.
Platonic.
And definitely. And like going back to, well, I'm trying to think because there's a ton of them. We'll go back to Once Upon a Time. Like one of my favorite, I call them bro TPs, is Captain Hook and Prince Charming.
Yep.
And even throw Robin Hood in the mix, and it's like they've got this whole bro fest going, and it's so much fun. And another one,
leverage Hardison and Elliot. They can kill each other, but anybody tries to hurt the other, look out.
Better watch out.
Yeah. And it's having those relationships, and another one that I kind of like I mentioned Sleepy Hollow before, and I like, honestly, with that one, I started out being I like Ichabod and Katrina, because, well, first off, they're married, but second off, I liked, in season 1 especially, I liked the way it was handled. I don't think they've handled it very well in season 2, which is a shame, but I know a lot of people ship Ichabod and Abby romantically. Me, personally, I like them better as friends. I like them having the whole fist bump, being buddies sort of a thing, and I mean, I get that people ship them, and I'm okay with people doing that, but for me, I like them kind of being, I like them, being, platonic friends, because you don't see a lot of male-female platonic relationships. It's always, they've got to eventually,
Yeah. Kissy.
They got to do the kissy thing. We're keeping this PG here.
Yeah.
Because that's
fill in the
something
blank.
you can do, and I'm just like, you know what, we really need. And what I the other thing I appreciated when they brought Katrina back out of purgatory is that Abby made an effort to be Katrina's friend, and because this is Ichabod's wife, and she is, they're being. So there's no like jealousy, female jealousy in there, because I feel like that's an overdone trope.
Oh yes.
I was like, it needs to be, give that a rest. Let's see women being friends. Let's see men and women being friends, because I think that's true to reality, is that people are more likely to be friends with each other first. Like, if anything happens down the line, fine, and, well, it happens. That's great. But let's, friendships. Friendships are good, and they're valid, and they're important.
Exactly.
Yeah, when I was younger, I didn't really did the whole romantic relationship, because when I was a kid, it just grossed me out because I was a kid. I really liked the friendship stuff, and it's like, oh, and then it came into this romance. I'm like, ew, why did you do that with those two? But now I'm older, it makes sense in a way. But
when I was a kid, honestly, my first ship was Han and Leia. This is before I even knew what shipping really was.
Yeah.
I just was like, those two.
Yeah.
Even more.
I did more those two.
Yeah. Even more than any Disney, princess romance sort of thing, because those
are kind of a given.
Yeah, it's a foregone conclusion. But to kind of see the
unless you're Anna and Hans, in that case, it's not.
Well, yeah, but those weren't around when I was little.
Yeah.
But to watch Han and Leia's relationship kind of go from, she's the princess, he's the roguish smuggler on the other side of the law, and they don't get along at first, and then it kind of changes over time, and it's just like, okay, this is fun. That one was really well done.
It's kind of if you think about it, almost Captain Swan.
Yeah, they're definitely
parallels.
homages and parallels to that. I mean, there's a reason Emma used the pseudonym Princess Leia.
Yeah.
Finale.
Yeah.
And Eddie and Adam are huge Star Wars fans. If you ever see the end logo card at the end of the credits of an episode of Once Upon a Time, and it's all Star Warsy, yeah, they're they're stinking ridiculously huge Star Wars fans. So yes, that is definitely in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, one of my earliest, again, before I knew really what it was Tommy and Kimberly on the Power Rangers.
Oh, yes.
And I was so mad when Kimberly left and sent that Dear John letter to Tommy, and I'm like, you evil woman, how do you break his heart like that?
I missed that episode. I think I must have gotten out of it before then, because I missed it. I would have been crushed by that one.
Oh yes, my little heart broke at the time. And of course I'm I don't know, 12, 13 or something. I don't know any different.
I remember there was one episode where Tommy gave her something, and I can't remember what it was, and she gave him a kiss on the cheek, and I was like, oh my gosh, they kissed!
Yeah.
I mean, it's a kids' afternoon show. They're not going to do anything else, obviously, but it was just oh wow, it actually happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe Han and Leia weren't my first ship, because now that you mentioned Tommy and Kimberly, I'm just okay, yes, that one too.
That would have been one when I was too young, because I think I was 4 or 5 or something like that.
Well, yeah.
I was 4th or 5th grade at the time, so 9 or 10. Oh, yeah.
Mine was the Han, Leia, or the going to Saved by the Bell, Zach and Kelly, or AC Slater and Jesse Spannell.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Mulder and Scully, so... Varied fandoms, stay fit.
Yeah. Depends on what age you are.
Mm-hmm.
More than anything. So. But yeah. So.
That's all in there.
We've been shipping since before we knew what shipping was. So.
Yes.
Pretty much. Yep.
Which.
It is written in our DNA.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, you'd have to be a Cyberman not to want some sort of relationship between two characters that you see something in. Again, whether it's romantic or a bromance or whatever.
Yeah, even if you yourself are not inclined to seek out, romance or whatever for yourself, and I know a lot of people are.
Mm-hmm.
There's still just something fun about seeing two people in love and being happy and kind of going through life together, and you're just, it's like during this week, or last week, I guess, I found a video, like, because I was looking for articles for my day job to post, and I found this really cute video of this older couple who've been together for like over 50 years, and I think it was done by the Hallmark Company, and they were talking, they were being filmed, and they were in separate rooms, and they were told, without using the word love, explain your relationship with your spouse. And so they were just like, oh, they complete me, they are, my other half, and how all these really sweet things, and you just are like, oh, and then they bring them together and they watch the video together, and it's just so sweet to see them kind of explain, and it's like, oh, you two are so cute.
Do you still have the link to that? Because that sounds cute, and I might want to watch it.
I will put a link to that video. I will find it. I will find it later. So let's see. I can find it. And it was from last week. But I'll just link to the YouTube.
Yeah.
Thing. As soon as I find it. Yeah. But yeah. And I even on my article I even said, you know what, I'm kind of, this.
Oh, you have it on your
grumpy.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm this grumpy single old maid lady, kind of tongue in cheek, because that's my dry sense of humor. But even this made my heart melt. But I'm kind of, I make jokes about it. There's a guy that goes to my church that. He recently moved in, and he's older, and he's single, and he's got all the girls after him, and I met him because my roommate's friends with him, and I just kind of like, and when I first met him at an activity, and he had all these, it was so funny, he's standing there, and there's like 5 or 6 girls just like hanging on his every word, and then later he came up to me, and we're just kind of talking, and and I made a comment, and I'm like, oh, I'm almost 30, and whatever. And he's like, oh, I'm 30. I'm 30 as well. And I'm like, okay, so that explains it. Why you had all those girls fawning over you?
Yeah.
And and he was sort of surprised that I could make a joke about that, because that's like a big no-no. Like, you don't mention, And so I was just kind of joking around with him, and I'm like, there's blood in the water, and the sharks are swimming. So, anyway, it was just kind of funny.
Shipping can cross over into real life as well.
Yeah,
especially with like celebrities. You see that a lot too with the celebrities in real life. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's funny. Yesterday I was posting a few shipping videos for Valentine's Day, and I just put one that was just Captain Hook. I was like, can I ship myself with Captain Hook, please? Something like that.
Oh, during our Once Upon a Time, photo challenge, and I did, for C, I did Captain Hook, because someone stole my Captain Swan one. Anyway, okay, here's the video. But on my caption, I said he's hot, he's sexy, he's broody, and he's mine. Parentheses, in my dreams.
Yeah.
But yes, how can you not love?
And even
if it's for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually seen, I haven't really read too many because, I don't know, but I've seen a lot of fan fiction where people will put themselves or put the reader into these shipping.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, we'll get into that when we discuss fan fiction in general. But yeah, you'll see once you start learning like the acronyms and stuff that go with fan fiction, and it's like,
there is a whole
male, female, and I won't mention some of the other ones.
There's a whole
But
there's a whole language to this.
Yeah, you'll see original character or reader or whatever. So yeah, and again, it can be with fictional characters. You may see somebody put themselves into like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's them and Loki, or or it could be real life and it's the Reader and Tom Hiddleston. So it just it depends. It depends on, I guess, what tickles your fancy, I guess, more than anything. So, because for some people, for some people, it's the character and not the person portraying the character. And in some cases, it's both. Because, I know Chrissy loves Colin O'Donoghue just as much as she loves Captain Hook, so.
Yep. Although that one, I'm kind of like, he's married, so.
Yeah.
But I can still look. I am allowed to look.
Exactly.
Yep.
So.
And dream.
Yeah.
And dream. Yes. One can dream.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm single, I'm not dead. Or no, or however that goes. Words are
right.
funny.
Yeah. Oh, my.
Okay. And now this document keeps crashing, so I guess I won't put that link into the thing.
You'll get to it. We'll get it in there eventually.
Yeah, it'll be there.
I'll make sure it gets in there. If you have to message it to me some other way, that's fine. So it's all good.
Yeah. We will get there eventually.
Yeah. So hopefully this has been an enlightening, at the very least, enlightening topic.
And hopefully we've left you with a more positive outlook on shipping than just, oh my gosh, shipping wars. I'm right, you're wrong, and die, you rebel scum.
Yeah.
It's not all that.
Because it really is a lot of fun and just really sweet. And
Oh yeah, it's all relatively harmless. So
Yeah.
it's
And
people loving love.
yes, and the one thing, and I just want to mention this because yesterday was Valentine's Day, and I saw a lot of people on Facebook, posting with their their spouses or boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, whoever.
Mhm.
And that kind of thing, and sometimes I kind of get like, oh, this again. But then I would go on Tumblr, or I did see a few on Facebook, like Comic-Con had a bunch, and they were like people making fandom Valentines, or they were doing
those.
Mm-hmm.
doing fandom fun little things about their fandoms, about these characters, and I'm just like, okay, that's what makes Valentine's Day fun. And like even the Doctor Who official Tumblr had a few of them. There was one with Capaldi that was
It's like
red,
violets
TARDIS
are
is
blue. Yeah, I have two hearts and they both belong to you.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Or the Once Upon a Time Facebook. They were going through, we call them the True Love Armada, the four main couples, and they had little images about their love stories. It was like, oh, this is so cute. And then they had one for the Queens of Darkness, because that story arc's coming up, and it was Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was so cool. So like you can make Valentine's Day kind of fun within fandom, and shipping kind of helps that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to mention that. I'm like, okay, this is making my curmudgeonly heart feel better.
I love the one I sent out. I showed one on Facebook. It was I'm celebrating Valentine's Han solo.
Yeah.
See,
Yes.
these are fun. You can have fun with
Yes.
it. Just enjoy. And that's kind of what I've learned with Valentine's. I used to be all cynical and grumpy, and it's Single Awareness Day. It's like, no, you can celebrate the things that you love, and it doesn't have to be romantic love. It can be your friends,
Mm-hmm.
or your fandoms, or your family, or whatever.
Yep. Yes, sirree. Oh, well, unless anybody has anything else to add, we shall wrap up for this week. So once again, whether you're a new listener or a long-time listener, you can find all of our contact info and links to everything at the 5ish Fangirls podcast.blogspot.com. So there you can find our Twitter and Facebook and Tumblr and every other
iTunes.
forms, iTunes, all the other forms of social media that we are on. So you can hit us up there. There's also just a generic contact message box, so if you want to send us feedback that way, or you can email us too. Our email address is on there as well. So, and then next week, like we said, we'll have Mitch shall have returned from the land of Hollywood, and we will get her full galley recap.
Yes.
So, I'm
Yep.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, and if you were at Galley and you would like to send us feedback about your experiences, we will gladly read that out, because everybody's experience at Galley is very, very different, because I think
you can't
Sean
do it
said
all.
You can't do it all. There is no way. I speak from experience. Like, there's just so much to see and do.
Yeah.
And, even the only way you could do it all is if you had the TARDIS.
Or a time turner.
Or a time turner, or whatever method of time travel you prefer.
Yeah.
So if you were at Galley, and you want to send us in what you saw and did and enjoyed, we'll read about that, because man, I miss Galley.
Yeah.
I've only ever been once, and I want to go again. I don't know if it'll ever happen again, because it's such a crunch to get tickets. But
blink and you miss.
Registration.
Yeah.
Like last year, the tickets sold out, or registration sold out in 90 minutes. I shudder to think what it's going to be like this year. It'll probably be like 5 minutes and they're gone.
Yeah. It's as it grows more and more. So.
I remember that I bought tickets for last year's Galley, and I couldn't go. I was like, no. Yeah, that was me too. I had tickets and I had to sell them because my car broke down, and I cried.
Yeah.
Cried sad cries.
If you have the funds and you think you may be able to go, buy the tickets when they go on sale. And then if you can't go, somebody will buy them from you.
Yes. I mean, I am amazed at, because when I couldn't go, and I was like, I found out like less than a month before Galley. And I was like, well, I don't, because I was like, I want to give someone else a chance to go, and they had reopened transfers. And so I got on their Facebook page and like say, hey, I've got tickets, I can't go, who wants them? And I was so amazed at how fast someone snapped it up from me, and I was like, hey, great. And I sold it to him, sent an email to Galley, say transfer my ticket, and that was it. The only thing I lost out on was my plane ticket. I had to eat that. The cost of that, but whatever. That's life.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Gallifrey 1, if you went, send us feedback. Mitch will be back next week to talk about her experiences. Also, Sean and Mel on Traveling the Vortex, we're going to talk about theirs. And there's also the side trips at Traveling the Vortex, and we'll put links to that as well, that you can hear about their reports actually from Galley.
Mm-hmm.
So we're everywhere.
Yep.
These next couple of weeks. So
living vicariously through them.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And Twitter. It kind of feels like, this is what it kind of feels like. It's like, even if you're not there, you still get to experience it in some way.
Yeah.
And it's like a holiday. It's a holiday weekend for all of Doctor Who fandom.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't necessarily get that from Chicago TARDIS or LI Who, although they may at some point become that big. It's always Gallifrey, because I guess it's because it's been going on for so long.
Yeah.
And everybody, like I even saw in the Twitter stream, people in the UK that were like, I'm staying up so late to see the Gallifrey updates, and I probably ought to go to bed, or their time zone. Like, everybody pays attention. It's just like, in this little hotel at the Los Angeles airport is sort of the center of Doctor Who fandom for a weekend, and it's like that's what the Doctor Who fandom calendar revolves around, is when the new series is coming back and when Gallifrey is.
Yeah,
or when.
Pretty much. Yeah. Although Brittany did bring up a good point as we were all had like our Twitter feeds open and our respective like electronic devices. She's like, one good thing about not being there and following on Twitter is you can do 2 panels at the same time.
Yeah.
That is true. That's right, because I had one open that was doing John Barrowman, and then I saw another one from like, I don't remember what the other panel was. Like the books panel or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It was going on at the same time as John Barrowman last night. I was just like, huh.
Yeah.
I think that was
it was the
companion panel
and Eve Miles. Yeah.
Eve Miles, yes.
Yeah. Which is how we ended up learning way more about John Barrowman's genitalia than I probably ever wanted to. But again, that's a story probably for next week.
Yes, definitely. Although I have to say, for the parents who had the Dalek Con baby stroller, I applaud you.
Parenting, you're doing it right.
Yes, and just for your creativity and tenacity in building that thing, that is amazing. And and the baby, oh my gosh, that child looked like it was having the time of its life.
I also loved the canine.
Yes.
I think I met that dog 2 years ago. And I think that dog was there. For some reason, I recognized the dog.
There are some regulars like Chicago TARDIS. There's a person that they have a giant tortoise that they bring and they dress it up. And like the year I went and the day I saw it, it had its own 4th Doctor scarf and like floppy hat that was sitting on its shell. And it slowly walked around and people would stop and take pictures, or they get on the floor and take a break. I know I was sitting on a bench waiting, like I was in between panels or something. And, oh crap, I can't think of her name now, that she played, Mel. Melody in Let's Kill Hitler. In Let's Kill Hitler. She saw the turtle and she got so excited and she got so excited and she got down on the floor and got on all fours so she could put her face next to it and had somebody take her picture next to it. So you see canines dressed as canines, and sometimes you see giant tortoises dressed as the 4th Doctor. And
this year I saw Muppets. There was a beaker that was
dressed as the 4th Doctor. Yeah.
And like these things don't happen at Comic-Con. This is like, the fan run stuff. There's just all these wild and crazy things. It's like, it's just a big party.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. But we'll save the stories for next week, because
we probably ought to not steal Mitch's thunder.
Yeah.
Because she actually went.
Yeah. We could talk about what we saw on Twitter and Instagram, but would hear the nitty gritty from somebody who was actually there.
Yes.
All right
then.
So with that, I guess we will sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Popia saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Good night, everyone, and I guess it's actually after, but I hope you had a very good Valentine's Day, whether you're single or committed or whatever. And at the very least, now that it's after Valentine's Day, chocolate is on clearance. So, yay!
And Easter candy is out now. Look at those Cadbury eggs.
Yeah. Time to stock up on the chocolate. listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.